Captain Marcus Thompson had
miss,
been a
what's the
royal
matter?
guard for
I'm
15
lost.
years.
Don't you worry.
He
We'll
stood
find them.
6
Thank
feet tall
you.
with broad shoulders
I
and
miss
kind
her so
blue
much.
eyes. Every
I know,
morning,
child,
he
I know.
put on his red
Will she
uniform
come
with
back?
gold buttons
I'm here.
and walked through the palace gates. The people of London knew him well. Children would wave when they saw him walking down the street. Marcus loved his job protecting the royal family. He had trained for years to become a guard. His father was also a guard before him. When Marcus was young, his father would tell him stories about brave guards who saved people. Marcus always dreamed of being a hero like them. On a cold Tuesday morning in November, Marcus was walking through Hyde Park. The leaves were orange and red, falling softly to the ground. He was not working that day, but he always stayed alert. His training taught him to watch for danger everywhere he went. The park was busy with people. Mothers pushed baby carriages. Old men fed birds by the pond. Children played on swings and slides. Marcus enjoyed watching families have fun together. It reminded him of his own childhood when his mother would take him to this same park. As Marcus walked past the playground, he heard something that made him stop. It was a small voice crying for help. He looked around quickly, trying to find where the sound came from. His heart started beating faster. In all his years as a guard, he had learned to trust his instincts when something felt wrong. Near the edge of the park, Marcus saw a little girl with long brown hair. She was wearing a pink dress and white shoes. The girl looked about 5 years old. She was standing alone, looking scared and confused. Tears were running down her face. Marcus walked over to her carefully. He did not want to frighten her more. "Hello, little one," he said in a gentle voice. "Are you lost?" The girl looked up at him with big brown eyes. She nodded her head, but could not speak. Marcus could see she was very scared. He knelt down so he was at her eye level. This was something he learned during his training. Children feel safer when adults do not tower over them. "My name is Marcus," he said softly. "I am a guard, and I help people. Can you tell me your name?" The girl wiped her nose with her small hand. "Emma," she whispered. "That is a beautiful name, Emma," Marcus said with a warm smile. "Where is your mommy or daddy?" Emma pointed toward the busy street. "Mommy was buying flowers. I saw a pretty butterfly and followed it. Now I cannot find her." Marcus felt his chest tighten. He knew how dangerous it was for a young child to be alone in a big city like London. There were many cars, strangers, and places where someone could get hurt. He also knew that Emma's mother was probably very worried and looking everywhere for her daughter. "Do not worry, Emma," Marcus said. "We will find your mommy. Can you remember what she was wearing?" Emma thought for a moment. "A blue coat and a red hat." Marcus nodded. He looked around the park and the street nearby. There were many people, but he did not see anyone matching that description. He knew he had to act quickly. The longer Emma was separated from her mother, the more dangerous it could become. "Emma, I want you to hold my hand," Marcus said. "We are going to look for your mommy together. You must stay close to me, okay?" Emma nodded and took his large hand in her tiny one. Marcus felt something strange in that moment. It was not just the responsibility of helping a lost child. It was something deeper. He felt connected to this little girl in a way he had never experienced before. They walked slowly through the park. Marcus asked people if they had seen a woman in a blue coat and red hat looking for a lost child. Most people shook their heads. Some offered to help, which made Marcus feel grateful for the kindness of strangers. As they searched, Emma began to trust Marcus more. She told him about her favorite toys and her pet cat named Whiskers. Marcus listened carefully to everything she said. He wanted to keep her mind off being scared. After 20 minutes of searching the park, Marcus decided they needed to expand their search. He knew the flower shops nearby where Emma's mother might have gone. The closest one was 3 blocks away on Baker Street. "Emma, we are going to walk to where your mommy might be," Marcus explained. "You must hold my hand tight and stay very close to me." As they left the park and walked onto the busy sidewalk, Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Something did not feel right. He had been a guard long enough to trust these feelings. His eyes scanned the street, looking for anything unusual. The sidewalk was crowded with people rushing to work or running errands. Cars and buses moved quickly down the street. Marcus kept Emma close to his side, protecting her from the crowd. They reached the first flower shop on Baker Street. The owner, an elderly woman with gray hair, shook her head when Marcus described Emma's mother. She had not seen anyone matching that description. At the second flower shop, the young man behind the counter looked thoughtful. "I think I remember a woman in a blue coat," he said. "She bought roses about an hour ago." She seemed worried about something. Marcus felt hopeful. "Did you see which direction she went?" The man pointed down the street. "Toward the underground station, I think." Marcus thanked him and turned to Emma. "Your mommy might be at the train station looking for you." Emma's eyes brightened a little. The underground station was busy and crowded. It would be a logical place for a worried mother to go when looking for her lost child. As they walked toward the station, Marcus noticed a man in a dark jacket following them. The man stayed about 20 feet behind, always keeping them in sight. When Marcus stopped, the man stopped. When Marcus walked faster, the man walked faster too. Marcus felt his guard training kick in. This was not normal behavior. His protective instincts grew stronger. He picked up Emma and carried her, walking more quickly toward the station.
"Why are we walking so fast?" Emma asked.
Marcus did not want to scare her, so he smiled. "I think we are getting close to finding your mommy. I am excited to help you find her." But inside, Marcus was becoming more worried. The man in the dark jacket was still following them. Marcus could feel eyes watching them, and it made him uncomfortable. He had to get Emma to safety and find her mother quickly. When they reached the underground station entrance, Marcus saw something that made his heart race. A woman in a blue coat and red hat was standing near the ticket booth, talking frantically to a police officer. She was crying and waving her hands. "Emma," Marcus said, "is that your mommy?" Emma looked where Marcus was pointing and screamed with joy. "Mommy! Mommy!" The woman turned around at the sound of Emma's voice. Her face changed from worry to pure happiness in an instant. She ran toward them with tears streaming down her face. "Emma! Oh, my baby!" the woman cried as she swept her daughter into her arms. Marcus watched the reunion with a warm feeling in his heart. This was why he became a guard, to help people and keep them safe. But as he turned to leave, he noticed the man in the dark jacket had disappeared into the crowd. Emma's mother, Sarah, turned to Marcus with tears in her eyes. "Thank you so much for finding her. I was so scared. I only looked away for a minute, and she was gone." "I am just glad she is safe," Marcus replied. Children can disappear quickly in busy places. Sarah hugged Emma tightly. "How can I ever repay you?" Marcus shook his head. "No payment needed. This is what any person should do." But as Marcus watched Sarah and Emma walk away together, that strange feeling returned. It was stronger now. He felt like this meeting was more than just chance. Something about finding Emma felt important in a way he could not explain. Marcus walked home that evening thinking about the day. He had helped reunite a mother and daughter, which should have made him feel proud and satisfied, but instead he felt confused and emotional in ways that surprised him. That night, Marcus could not sleep well. He kept thinking about Emma's big brown eyes and the way her small hand felt in his. He thought about how scared she was and how brave she tried to be. He also could not stop thinking about the man who had been following them. The next morning, Marcus reported for duty at the palace as usual. He tried to focus on his work, but his mind kept wandering back to Emma. During his lunch break, he found himself walking back to Hyde Park, looking for any sign of the little girl or her mother. Marcus told himself he was just being thorough. As a guard, it was his job to make sure people were safe. But deep down, he knew it was more than that. Something about Emma had touched his heart in a way he had never experienced before. For the rest of the week, Marcus felt different. His fellow guards noticed he was quieter than usual. When they asked if something was wrong, Marcus just said he was tired. How could he explain feelings he did not understand himself? On Sunday, Marcus decided to visit his mother. She lived in a small house outside London where he had grown up. His mother, Helen, was a wise woman who always seemed to understand things that confused Marcus. "You look troubled, son," Helen said as they sat in her garden drinking tea. Marcus told her about finding Emma and the strange feelings he had been having since then. His mother listened carefully without interrupting. When Marcus finished his story, Helen was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that surprised him. "Marcus, sometimes we meet people who change us in ways we do not expect. It sounds like this little girl has awakened something in your heart." "But why?" Marcus asked. I have helped many people before. Why is Emma different? His mother smiled gently. Some connections cannot be explained with logic, dear. They come from a deeper place in our souls. Marcus felt confused but somehow comforted by his mother's words. He spent the rest of the day thinking about what she had said. When Marcus returned to work on Monday, he threw himself into his duties. He hoped that staying busy would help him forget about Emma and the confusing feelings she had stirred up in him. But fate had other plans. That afternoon, while Marcus was patrolling near Buckingham Palace, he saw a familiar figure walking down the street. It was Sarah, Emma's mother, and she was alone. Marcus approached her carefully. Hello, Sarah. How is Emma? Sarah looked up, surprised but happy to see him. Marcus, Emma has been asking about you every day. She keeps talking about the nice guard who helped her. Is she all right? Marcus asked. Sarah's expression became serious. That is actually why I am here. I was hoping to find you. Something strange has been happening. Marcus felt his guard instincts activate. What kind of strange things? Ever since that day in the park, I feel like someone has been watching us. Yesterday, I saw the same man outside Emma's school that I saw near the flower shop that day you found her. Marcus remembered the man in the dark jacket who had been following them. His concern grew stronger. Can you describe this man? Sarah described the same person Marcus had noticed. His worry increased. If someone was following Emma and her mother, they could be in real danger. Sarah, I think you should report this to the police, Marcus said seriously. I did, but they said there was not enough evidence. They told me to call if I saw him again. Sarah looked scared. Marcus, I am a single mother. Emma is all I have. I do not know what I would do if something happened to her. In that moment, Marcus felt that strange feeling again, but stronger than ever. It was as if everything inside him was telling him to protect Emma and her mother. The feeling was so powerful it almost took his breath away. Sarah, I want to help, Marcus said without thinking. Maybe I could walk Emma to school sometimes or check on you both. Sarah looked relieved. Would you really do that? I know it is a lot to ask. It is not too much at all, Marcus replied, and he meant it completely. As they made plans for Marcus to help keep Emma safe, he realized something important was happening in his life. This was not just about being a good guard or helping citizens. This felt personal and meaningful in a way that scared and excited him at the same time. That evening, Marcus lay in bed staring at the ceiling. He thought about his conversation with his mother and her words about connections that come from a deeper place in souls. He thought about Emma's trusting brown eyes and Sarah's relieved smile when he offered to help. For the first time in his 15 years as a royal guard, Marcus felt like he had found something more important than just doing his job. He had found a purpose that touched his heart in ways he was only beginning to understand. As sleep finally came, Marcus dreamed of a little girl with brown hair and a pink dress, safe and happy, surrounded by people who loved her. In the dream, he was watching over her, and for the first time in years, Marcus felt truly at peace. But deep in his heart, Marcus knew this was just the beginning of something much bigger than he could imagine. The feelings Emma had awakened in him were growing stronger every day, and he had no idea where they would lead him. What Marcus did not know was that the man who had been following them was still out there, watching and waiting. And the connection Marcus felt to Emma was about to be tested in ways that would change all their lives forever. 3 weeks had passed since Marcus began helping to protect Emma and her mother Sarah. Every morning before his shift at the palace, he would walk Emma to school. Every afternoon, he would check on Sarah at the small cafe where she worked as a waitress. The routine felt natural to Marcus, like something he was meant to do. Emma had grown comfortable with Marcus very quickly. She would run to greet him each morning, her backpack bouncing as she skipped beside him on the way to school. She told him stories about her friends, her favorite subjects, and her dreams of becoming a teacher someday. Marcus, do you have children? Emma asked one morning as they walked past the flower shop where her mother had been that first day. The question caught Marcus off guard. No, Emma, I do not have a family. Why not? She asked with the innocent curiosity that only children possess. Marcus thought carefully about his answer. I suppose I have been too busy with my work to think about having a family. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made Marcus's heart skip a beat. I think you would be a good daddy. Marcus felt that familiar strange feeling wash over him again. It was becoming stronger and more frequent. Every time he was with Emma, he felt like he was exactly where he belonged, but he still could not understand why. At Emma's school, Marcus would wait until she was safely inside before leaving for his duties at the palace. The teachers and other parents had grown used to seeing the tall guard in his uniform. Some of the children would wave at him, and Marcus always waved back with a smile. One morning, as Marcus was walking back from the school, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. The man in the dark jacket was standing across the street from the school, watching the children in the playground. Marcus's training kicked in immediately. Marcus crossed the street quickly but carefully, not wanting to alarm the man or cause him to run. When he got closer, the man noticed him and started walking away quickly. "Excuse me," Marcus called out, but the man began running. Marcus chased after him through the busy London streets. The man was fast, but Marcus was faster and in better shape. After 3 blocks, Marcus caught up to him in an alley behind a row of shops. "Stop right there," Marcus commanded, using his most authoritative guard voice. The man turned around slowly. He was about 40 years old, with greasy brown hair and nervous eyes. He wore old clothes and looked like he had not slept well in days. "I was not doing anything wrong," the man said, his voice shaking. "Then why did you run when I called to you?" Marcus asked, stepping closer. "And why have you been following a woman and her daughter?" The man's eyes widened. "I do not know what you are talking about." Marcus could tell the man was lying. In his years as a guard, he had learned to read people's faces and body language. This man was definitely hiding something. "Listen to me very carefully," Marcus said in a low, serious voice. "If I see you near that little girl or her mother again, you will have to deal with me. Do you understand?" The man nodded quickly and backed away. "I understand. I will not bother them." Marcus watched as the man disappeared around the corner. But he knew this was not over. His instincts told him this man was dangerous, and Marcus was determined to protect Emma and Sarah no matter what. That afternoon, Marcus went to the cafe where Sarah worked. It was a small, cozy place with red checkered tablecloths and the smell of fresh bread in the air. Sarah was serving tea to an elderly couple when Marcus walked in. When she saw him, her face lit up with a smile. This always made Marcus feel warm inside. Over the past few weeks, he had grown to care about Sarah too. She was kind, hardworking, and devoted to Emma. Marcus admired how strong she was as a single mother. "Marcus, you are early today," Sarah said as she finished with her customers and walked over to him. "Sarah, I need to talk to you about something important," Marcus said seriously. They sat at a small table in the corner of the cafe. Marcus told Sarah about seeing the man near Emma's school and chasing him down. Sarah's face grew pale as she listened. "Oh my goodness," she whispered. "What did he want? Why is he watching Emma?" "I do not know yet," Marcus admitted, "but I am going to find out." "In the meantime, I think we need to take extra precautions." Marcus suggested that Sarah should not walk alone at night and that Emma should never be left unattended, even for a moment. He also gave Sarah his phone number and told her to call him immediately if she saw anything suspicious. "Marcus, I cannot ask you to do all this for us. You have already done so much." "You are not asking me," Marcus replied gently. "I am offering because I care about you and Emma's safety." The word care surprised Marcus as soon as he said it, but he realized it was true. He did care about them, more than he had ever cared about anyone before. That evening, Marcus could not stop thinking about the man in the dark jacket. He decided to do some investigating on his own. Using his contacts in the police force, Marcus tried to find out if there had been any reports of suspicious men following children in the area. What he discovered made his stomach turn. There had been 3 reports in the past month of a man matching the same description, watching children near schools and playgrounds. In each case, the man had disappeared before police could question him. Marcus realized this was much more serious than he had first thought. This was not just someone with a strange interest in Emma and her family. This was likely a predator who was targeting children in the area. The next morning, Marcus arrived at Sarah's apartment earlier than usual. He wanted to make sure they were taking every possible precaution. When Sarah opened the door, she looked tired and worried. "I barely slept last night," she admitted. Every little sound made me think someone was trying to get in. Marcus felt angry that this stranger was making Sarah and Emma live in fear. He promised himself that he would not let anything happen to them. As they walked Emma to school that morning, Marcus was extra alert. He scanned every face in the crowd, looking for any sign of the man in the dark jacket. Emma seemed to sense the tension and stayed closer to Marcus than usual. "Are you and Mommy worried about something?" Emma asked as they reached her school. Marcus knelt down to her level. "Emma, we just want to make sure you stay safe. That is why it is important for you to always stay with your teachers at school and never go anywhere with strangers, okay?" Emma nodded seriously. "I promise, Marcus." After dropping Emma off, Marcus walked Sarah to work. The cafe was only a few blocks from the school, but Marcus wanted to make sure she arrived safely. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" Sarah said as they walked. "Of course. Why are you doing all this for us? We are not your family. You barely know us." Marcus had been asking himself the same question for weeks. He still did not have a clear answer, but he tried to explain the feelings he had been experiencing. "Sarah, I have been a royal guard for 15 years. I have protected many people and helped countless families. But with you and Emma, it feels different. It feels personal in a way I cannot explain." Sarah stopped walking and looked at Marcus with curiosity. "Different how?" Marcus struggled to find the right words. "When I am with Emma, I feel like I am exactly where I am supposed to be. When I think about something happening to her or you, it feels like my own heart would break." Sarah's expression softened. "Marcus, do you think maybe you have feelings for our family that go beyond just wanting to help?" The question hung in the air between them. Marcus had been trying not to think about this possibility, but now that Sarah had said it out loud, he could not deny it anymore. "Maybe I do," he admitted quietly. They reached the cafe and Sarah turned to face Marcus before going inside. "Marcus, I want you to know that Emma and I care about you too. You have become very important to us." After Sarah went into the cafe, Marcus walked to the palace feeling confused but also hopeful. For the first time in his adult life, he was thinking about what it would be like to have a family. The idea both excited and terrified him. During his shift at the palace, Marcus found it hard to concentrate on his duties. His mind kept wandering to Emma and Sarah. He thought about Emma's question about whether he would be a good father. He thought about Sarah's words about caring for them. Around lunchtime, Marcus's phone rang. It was Sarah, and she sounded panicked. "Marcus, he is here. The man in the dark jacket. He is sitting at a table in the cafe, and he keeps staring at me." Marcus felt his heart race. "Sarah, stay calm. Go into the kitchen and stay with other people. Do not go anywhere alone. I am on my way." Marcus told his supervisor he had an emergency and rushed out of the palace. He ran the 6 blocks to the cafe faster than he had ever run in his life. When he arrived, he was out of breath but alert. Marcus looked through the window of the cafe and saw the man sitting at a corner table. He was indeed watching Sarah, who was serving customers but clearly trying to stay near other people. Marcus entered the cafe and walked directly to the man's table. The man looked up with surprise when he saw Marcus approaching. "We meet again," Marcus said, sitting down across from the man without being invited. The man started to get up, but Marcus grabbed his wrist. "I think we need to have a conversation." "Let go of me," the man said nervously. "Not until you tell me why you are following this woman and her daughter," Marcus replied firmly. The man looked around the cafe, realizing that other customers were starting to notice the commotion. He sat back down reluctantly. "My name is David Miller," the man said quietly. "I am not trying to hurt anyone." "Then why are you following them?" Marcus demanded. David was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that shocked Marcus completely. "Because I think Emma might be my daughter." Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "What did you say?" 5 years ago, I had a relationship with a woman named Sarah Johnson. We broke up when she told me she was pregnant. I was young and scared, and I left town. I never met my daughter." Marcus's mind was racing. Sarah's last name was Johnson. Emma was 5 years old. The timeline fit perfectly. "I have been trying to get the courage to talk to Sarah," David continued. "But every time I see her, I lose my nerve. I know I was a coward for leaving, but I want to meet my daughter now. Marcus felt like his entire world was crashing down around him. For weeks, he had been developing feelings for Emma and Sarah. He had started to imagine what it would be like to be part of their family. Now he was facing the possibility that Emma's real father was sitting right in front of him. "Does Sarah know you are here?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his voice steady. David shook his head. "I do not think she has seen me yet. I have been trying to figure out the right way to approach her." Marcus looked across the cafe at Sarah, who was watching them anxiously from behind the counter. He could see the fear in her eyes, not knowing what Marcus and this strange man were discussing. "David, if you really are Emma's father, then following them like this is not the right way to handle the situation," Marcus said. "You are scaring them." "I know," David said, looking ashamed. "I just did not know how else to do it." "What if Sarah does not want me in Emma's life? What if Emma does not want to meet me?" Despite his own confused feelings, Marcus felt some sympathy for David. The man seemed genuinely sorry for his past mistakes and genuinely interested in being part of his daughter's life. "David, the only way to know is to talk to Sarah honestly," Marcus said. "But you have to stop following them. It is frightening them, and it is not fair to Emma." David nodded. "Will you help me? Will you talk to Sarah and see if she would be willing to meet with me?" Marcus felt torn. Part of him wanted to tell David to leave and never come back. Part of him wanted to protect the fantasy he had been building about becoming part of Emma and Sarah's family. But the rational part of him knew that if David really was Emma's father, then Emma deserved to know him. "I will talk to Sarah," Marcus agreed reluctantly. "But David, if you are going to be part of Emma's life, you have to be committed to staying. You cannot disappear again when things get difficult."
I understand, David said seriously.
"I have made mistakes, but I want to make them right." Marcus stood up from the table, feeling emotionally drained. "Give me your phone number. I will call you after I talk to Sarah." After David left the cafe, Marcus approached Sarah. She rushed over to him immediately. What did he want? "Who is he?" she asked anxiously. Marcus took a deep breath. "Sarah, we need to talk privately. Is there somewhere we can go?" Sarah asked her manager if she could take a break, and they went to a small park behind the cafe. Marcus told Sarah everything David had said about being Emma's father. Sarah's face went through a range of emotions: shock, anger, fear, and confusion. When Marcus finished talking, she was quiet for several minutes. "I cannot believe he is here," she finally said. "After all these years. Sarah, is it true? Is David Emma's father?" Marcus asked gently. Sarah nodded slowly. "Yes, he is. When I told him I was pregnant, he said he was not ready to be a father. He left London the next week. I never heard from him again." Marcus felt his heart breaking, but he tried not to show it. "What do you want to do?" "I do not know," Sarah said, tears starting to form in her eyes. "Part of me is angry that he left us, but part of me thinks Emma deserves to know her father." Marcus put his hand on Sarah's shoulder. "Whatever you decide, I will support you." Sarah looked at Marcus with gratitude and something else he could not quite identify. "Marcus, what does this mean for us? For you and Emma and me?" It was the question Marcus had been dreading. He had been falling in love with both Sarah and Emma, imagining a future where they could be a family together. Now that future seemed impossible. "I do not know," Marcus admitted honestly. "But what matters most is what is best for Emma." That afternoon, Marcus picked Emma up from school as usual. But everything felt different now. As Emma chatted about her day, Marcus found himself studying her face, looking for resemblances to David Miller. When they reached Sarah's apartment, Marcus made an excuse about having extra work at the palace. He needed time to think about everything that had happened and what it meant for his future. That evening, Marcus sat in his own apartment, staring at David Miller's phone number. He knew he had to call and arrange a meeting between David and Sarah, but making that call felt like giving up on his own dreams of happiness. Marcus thought about his mother's words about connections that come from deep places in souls. His connection to Emma felt real and important, but was it strong enough to survive the return of her real father? As night fell over London, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He picked up his phone and dialed David Miller's number. Whatever happened next, Emma's well-being had to come first, even if it meant sacrificing his own happiness. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. When David answered, Marcus took a deep breath and began planning a conversation that would determine the future of everyone he had come to love. The meeting was set for Saturday afternoon at a small coffee shop near Hyde Park. Marcus had spent 3 sleepless nights helping Sarah prepare for seeing David again after 5 years. She was nervous, angry, and confused all at the same time. Marcus felt all of those emotions too, plus a deep sadness that he was trying hard to hide. "What am I going to say to him?" Sarah asked for the 100th time as they walked toward the coffee shop. Emma was at her grandmother's house for the afternoon, giving the adults time to talk without frightening her. "Just be honest," Marcus advised, though his own heart was breaking with every step they took. "Tell him how you felt when he left, and tell him what you want for Emma now." Sarah stopped walking and turned to face Marcus. "Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. "What is it? Are you in love with me?" Sarah asked directly. The question hung in the air between them. Marcus had been trying to avoid thinking about his feelings, focusing instead on what was best for Emma. But now, faced with Sarah's direct question, he could not lie. "Yes," he said quietly. "I think I am." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "And you love Emma too, do not you?" "Yes," Marcus admitted. "I love her like she was my own daughter." Sarah reached out and took Marcus's hand. "I love you too, Marcus. And Emma adores you. But David is her real father, and I do not know what that means for us." They stood there in the middle of the busy London street, holding hands and facing the most difficult situation either of them had ever encountered. Marcus felt like his heart was being torn in two. "Sarah, whatever happens today, my feelings for you and Emma will not change," Marcus said. "But Emma needs to know her father, and you need to give David a chance to prove he has changed." When they reached the coffee shop, Marcus saw David sitting at a table by the window. He looked nervous and had clearly tried to clean himself up for the meeting. He wore a pressed shirt and had combed his hair. When he saw Sarah, his face showed a mixture of hope and fear. Marcus and Sarah approached the table together. David stood up awkwardly when he saw them. "Sarah," David said softly, "you look beautiful. You have not changed at all." Sarah sat down stiffly across from David. Marcus took the chair beside her, wanting to offer support but also feeling like an outsider in this reunion. "Hello, David," Sarah said coolly. "I cannot say I expected to see you again." David looked down at his hands. "I know I have no right to be here after what I did. But Sarah, not a day has gone by that I have not thought about you and our daughter." "Her name is Emma," Sarah said firmly, "and thinking about us is not the same as being here for us when we needed you." Marcus watched the conversation carefully. He could see the pain in Sarah's eyes and the regret in David's. This was not going to be an easy reconciliation. "You are right," David said. "I was a coward. When you told me you were pregnant, I panicked. I was only 22, working at a grocery store, and I felt like I had nothing to offer a child." "So you offered nothing at all?" Sarah replied bitterly. David winced at her words. "I know what I did was wrong. I have regretted it every single day for 5 years, but I am not that same scared boy anymore, Sarah. I have a good job now. I have an apartment. I am ready to be the father Emma deserves." Marcus felt a knife twist in his heart as he listened to David talk about being Emma's father. The role that Marcus had been dreaming about was being claimed by someone else. "What kind of job?" Sarah asked skeptically. "I am a mechanic at a garage in South London," David explained. "I have been there for 3 years. I make decent money, and my boss says I am one of his best workers." Sarah was quiet for a moment, absorbing this information. "David, why now? Why did you decide to come back after all this time?" David's eyes grew emotional. 6 months ago, my own father died. We had not spoken in years because of a stupid argument. As I sat at his funeral, I realized I was making the same mistake with Emma that my father made with me. I do not want to miss any more of my daughter's life. Marcus could see that David's words were affecting Sarah. Her expression was softening slightly, though she was still guarded. "David, Emma does not know you exist," Sarah said. "I told her that her father was not able to be with us. How do I explain to a 5-year-old that her father abandoned us but now wants to be part of her life?" "I do not know," David admitted. "But I want to try to make it right. I want to be the father she deserves, even if I have to start from nothing." Marcus listened to the conversation with growing despair. David seemed sincere in his desire to change. He had a job, stability, and genuine remorse for his past actions. Marcus could see that Sarah was beginning to consider giving David a chance.
"Sarah," Marcus said quietly, "maybe we should ask David what he has in mind."
How does he see this working? David looked at Marcus with gratitude. Thank you for speaking up. I know this must be difficult for you too. Marcus was surprised by David's acknowledgement of his feelings. What do you mean? I can see how you look at Sarah and how she looks at you, David said. I know you care about them both. I am not here to destroy that. I just want to be part of Emma's life. Sarah looked confused. What are you saying, David? David took a deep breath. I am saying that I want to be Emma's father, but I do not expect you to take me back as your boyfriend or husband. I see that you have found someone good who cares about you and Emma. I do not want to ruin that. Marcus felt a glimmer of hope mixed with confusion. I do not understand. I want to be in Emma's life as her father, David explained. I want to spend time with her, help support her financially, be there for important events. But I am not asking you to give up your relationship with Marcus, Sarah. I just want to be Emma's dad. Sarah stared at David in surprise. You mean you want to co-parent? You want to share custody but not get back together? Exactly, David said. I realize I lost my chance with you 5 years ago. I am not trying to get that back. I just want to know my daughter. Marcus felt his heart racing. This was not the outcome he had expected. He had assumed that David's return meant the end of his relationship with Sarah and Emma. But David was suggesting something completely different. David, that is very mature of you, Sarah said slowly. But I do not know if it would work. Emma has become attached to Marcus. If you become part of her life too, it might confuse her. Or it might give her more people who love her, David suggested. Sarah, I have watched you three together from a distance. I can see how much Marcus cares about Emma. I do not want to take that away from her. Marcus looked at David with new respect. Despite his past mistakes, David seemed to genuinely want what was best for Emma, even if it meant sharing her with Marcus. This is all very complicated, Sarah said, rubbing her temples. I need time to think about it. Of course, David said. I do not expect you to decide anything today. But Sarah, would you consider letting me meet Emma? Just once, to see if we connect? Sarah looked at Marcus, seeking his opinion. Marcus felt torn between his own desires and what he thought was best for Emma. Sarah, it has to be your decision, Marcus said. But if David really is committed to being a good father, then Emma deserves to know him. Sarah was quiet for several minutes, clearly struggling with the decision. Finally, she looked up at David. If I agree to let you meet Emma, there have to be rules, she said firmly. Anything, David agreed quickly. First, you meet her as a friend, not as her father. If she accepts you and you prove you are reliable, then we can tell her the truth later. David nodded. I understand. Second, if you hurt her in any way or disappear again, you will never see her again, and Marcus will make sure of that. Marcus felt a surge of protectiveness at Sarah's words. That is a promise, he said to David seriously. Third, you have to accept that Marcus is already part of Emma's life. She calls him her guard friend and she loves him. You cannot ask her to choose between you. David looked at Marcus with something approaching gratitude. I would never ask her to do that. I can see that Marcus is good for her. Sarah took a deep breath. Then we can try. But David, this is your only chance. Do not waste it. They agreed that David would meet Emma the following Sunday at the park where Marcus had first found her. Marcus would be there too, both to support Emma and to make sure David behaved appropriately. As they left the coffee shop, Marcus walked slightly behind Sarah and David, watching them talk quietly about practical arrangements. He felt a strange mixture of relief and anxiety. Relief that he was not losing Sarah and Emma completely, but anxiety about how this complicated situation would work out. That evening, Sarah and Marcus sat in her small living room while Emma played with her toys on the floor. They had not told Emma about the meeting with David yet, planning to wait until the day before. Marcus, are you okay with all this? Sarah asked. I know it is not what any of us expected. Marcus watched Emma arranging her toy animals in a line, humming a little song to herself. Sarah, I want what is best for Emma. If having her real father in her life is what is best, then I support it. But what about what you want? Sarah pressed. This affects your life too. Marcus considered the question carefully. What I want is to be part of Emma's life in whatever way is possible. If that means sharing her with David, then I can live with that. Sarah moved closer to Marcus on the couch. And what about us? What about your feelings for me? Marcus took Sarah's hand. My feelings for you have not changed. But this situation is complicated now. We need to see how things work out with David before we can plan any kind of future together. The week that followed was filled with anxiety for all three adults. Marcus continued his routine of walking Emma to school and checking on Sarah at work, but everything felt different. David called Sarah twice to confirm the details of their meeting, and each time, Marcus felt a pang of jealousy, mixed with respect for David's efforts to handle the situation maturely. On Friday night, Sarah finally told Emma about the meeting. Emma, tomorrow we are going to the park, and there is someone I want you to meet, Sarah said as she tucked Emma into bed. Who? Emma asked curiously. A man who knew Mommy a long time ago, before you were born. His name is David, and he is very excited to meet you. Emma thought about this for a moment. Will Marcus be there too? Yes, Marcus will be there, Sarah assured her. Good, Emma said, settling back into her pillow. I like meeting new people when Marcus is with us. Marcus felt his heart swell with emotion at Emma's words. Despite everything that was happening, she still trusted him and wanted him nearby. Saturday night, Marcus barely slept. He kept thinking about the next day and how it might change everything. He thought about David's promise to be a good father, Sarah's hope that this would work out for the best, and his own deep love for both of them. Sunday morning arrived gray and cloudy, matching Marcus's mood. He met Sarah and Emma at their apartment, and they walked to Hyde Park together. Emma chattered excitedly about the playground and the ducks in the pond, unaware of how nervous the adults were feeling. When they reached the park, Marcus saw David sitting on a bench near the playground. He was holding a small wrapped gift and looked as nervous as Marcus felt. Emma, Sarah said gently, there is David. Are you ready to meet him? Emma looked at the stranger on the bench, then up at Marcus for reassurance. Marcus smiled and nodded encouragingly. Okay, Mommy, Emma said, taking both Sarah's and Marcus's hands. As they approached David, Marcus felt like they were walking toward a moment that would change all their lives forever. David stood up when he saw them coming, his face filled with wonder, as he got his first close look at his daughter. Hello, Emma, David said softly, kneeling down to her level. I am David. Your mommy has told me so many wonderful things about you. Emma looked at David carefully, then at the gift in his hands. What is that? This is a present for you, David said, holding out the small package. I hope you like it. Emma looked at Sarah, who nodded that it was okay to accept the gift. Emma unwrapped it carefully to reveal a small stuffed elephant with kind eyes and a gentle smile. I like elephants, Emma said, hugging the toy to her chest. I know, David said with tears in his eyes. Your mommy told me they were your favorite animals. Marcus watched this first interaction between father and daughter with a complex mixture of emotions. He could see the love in David's eyes as he looked at Emma. He could see Emma's natural curiosity about this new person who seemed so interested in her. David, would you like to push me on the swings? Emma asked. I would love to, David replied, his voice thick with emotion. As Marcus watched David push Emma on the swings, listening to her delighted squeals of laughter, he realized something important. This was not about him losing Emma or competing with David. This was about Emma gaining another person who loved her. For the first time since David had entered their lives, Marcus felt genuinely hopeful about the future. It would be complicated, and there would be challenges ahead. But maybe, just maybe, they could all find a way to be happy together. As Emma played with David, Sarah moved closer to Marcus. Look at her face, Sarah whispered. She is already starting to like him. Marcus nodded, watching Emma show David her favorite hiding spot behind the big oak tree. He seems like he really wants to be a good father. Marcus, whatever happens, I want you to know that you will always be important to Emma and to me, Sarah said. This does not change how we feel about you. Marcus felt a warmth spread through his chest at Sarah's words. Maybe this new arrangement could work after all. Maybe Emma could have both her real father and the man who had chosen to love her. Maybe there was room in one little girl's heart for all the people who wanted to protect and care for her. As the afternoon went on, Marcus began to see a possible future forming. It was not the future he had originally imagined, but it was a future where Emma was surrounded by love, where Sarah could find happiness, and where Marcus could continue to be part of their lives. The strange feeling that had started the day Marcus first found Emma was still there, stronger than ever. But now he understood it better. It was not just about him becoming Emma's father. It was about him becoming part of a larger family, one that included David, and maybe others who had not yet entered their lives. As they prepared to leave the park that afternoon, Emma ran up to Marcus and took his hand. "Marcus, I like David," she announced. "Can he come with us again?" Marcus looked at David, who was waiting hopefully for his answer. "If your mommy says yes, then I think that would be very nice." Emma beamed and ran to take David's hand too, walking between the two men who were already learning to share their love for her. Behind them, Sarah walked with tears of relief in her eyes, grateful that the two most important men in Emma's life were willing to work together for her happiness. But none of them knew that their biggest challenge was yet to come, and that the strange connection Marcus felt to Emma was about to be tested in ways none of them could imagine. 2 months had passed since David entered Emma and Sarah's lives. The arrangement was working better than anyone had expected. David visited Emma twice a week, taking her to parks, museums, and ice cream shops. Marcus continued his role as Emma's protector and friend, walking her to school and spending evenings with Sarah's small family. Emma had adapted to the situation, with the remarkable flexibility that children possess. She now called David Daddy David and Marcus Uncle Marcus, though she seemed to understand that both men were special in different ways. The adults had not yet told Emma that David was her biological father, waiting for the relationship to solidify first. Marcus and David had developed an unexpected friendship. They discovered they both loved football and often watched matches together while Emma played nearby. David regularly asked Marcus for advice about being a father, and Marcus found himself genuinely wanting to help David succeed. "Marcus, how do you always know the right thing to say to her?" David asked one evening as they watched Emma color pictures at Sarah's kitchen table. "I do not think there are right or wrong things," Marcus replied. "I just try to be honest with her and remember what it felt like to be a child." David nodded thoughtfully. "I miss so much of her early life. Sometimes I feel like I am trying to make up for lost time all at once." "David, Emma does not need you to be perfect," Marcus assured him. "She just needs you to be present and reliable." As the weeks went by, Marcus noticed changes in himself that he had not expected. Sharing Emma with David had not diminished his love for her. Instead, it had helped him understand that love was not something that could be divided or diminished by sharing. The more people who loved Emma, the better her life became. Sarah had also grown happier as the arrangement settled into a comfortable routine. The fear and stress she had carried as a single mother began to ease as she saw both Marcus and David committed to Emma's well-being. "I never imagined it could work out like this," Sarah told Marcus one evening as they walked through their neighborhood after dinner. Emma was spending the night at David's apartment for the first time, and both adults were nervous about this new step. "Are you worried about her staying with David?" Marcus asked. "A little," Sarah admitted, "but I think it is good for them to have time alone together, and I trust him now." Marcus felt proud of how mature David had become. The man who had run away 5 years ago had transformed into someone responsible and caring. David had furnished a small bedroom in his apartment specifically for Emma's visits, complete with toys, books, and a nightlight shaped like a butterfly. The next morning, David called early to report that Emma had slept well and eaten a good breakfast. When Marcus and Sarah picked her up that afternoon, Emma was bubbling with excitement about her adventure. "Daddy David made pancakes for breakfast," she announced, "and we read 3 bedtime stories." Marcus felt a familiar warm feeling as he listened to Emma's happiness. This was what he had wanted from the beginning, for Emma to be safe, loved, and happy. The fact that David was now part of making that happen filled Marcus with satisfaction rather than jealousy. But their peaceful routine was about to be shattered by news that would change everything they thought they knew about their situation. It was a Thursday afternoon when Sarah received a phone call at the cafe where she worked. Marcus was at the palace, and David was at his garage. Emma was in school. The caller identified himself as Detective Inspector William Hayes from the Metropolitan Police. "Miss Johnson, I need to speak with you about a man named David Miller," the detective said. Sarah felt her heart start racing. "What about him? Is he in trouble?" "Ms. Johnson, we have reason to believe that Mr. Miller may not be who he claims to be. Can you meet with me this afternoon? It is quite urgent." Sarah called Marcus immediately, her voice shaking as she explained the detective's call. Marcus left work early and met Sarah at the police station, where Detective Hayes was waiting with a folder full of documents. "Ms. Johnson, Mr. Tom." "Thompson," the detective began. "We have been investigating a series of identity thefts in London. Yesterday, we arrested a man who had been using multiple false identities to commit fraud." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. What does this have to do with David? Detective Hayes opened his folder and pulled out a photograph. "This is the man we arrested. His real name is Peter Carlyle. Does he look familiar to you?" Sarah gasped when she saw the photo. It was clearly the same man who had been following them months earlier, the man Marcus had chased and confronted. But it was not David. "I do not understand," Sarah said, confused. "This is not David Miller. David is Emma's father." The detective pulled out another document. "Miss Johnson, according to our investigation, the real David Miller died in a car accident in Scotland 3 years ago. The man who has been calling himself David Miller and claiming to be Emma's father is actually someone named James Crawford." Marcus felt like the ground was falling away beneath him. "Are you saying the David we know is not really David?" "That is exactly what I am saying," Detective Hayes confirmed. "James Crawford has been using the identity of the deceased David Miller for the past 2 years. We do not yet know why he targeted your family specifically, but we believe he may have been conducting some kind of elaborate fraud."
Sarah began crying.
"But he knows things about me from 5 years ago. He knew I was pregnant. He knew details about our relationship. Miss Johnson, these fraudsters are very good at research. They can find out personal information through social media, public records, and other sources. It is possible he learned about your past relationship with the real David Miller and used that information to convince you he was the same person." Marcus felt anger building inside him like a volcano about to erupt. For 2 months, they had trusted this man with Emma. They had let him into their home, their lives, their hearts. Emma had begun to love him as her father. "Where is he now?" Marcus demanded. "That is what we need your help to determine," Detective Hayes said. "We have been watching Mr. Crawford's apartment, but he has not returned there since yesterday morning. We believe he may have realized we were closing in on him." Sarah was sobbing now. "Emma is supposed to see him this weekend. She is going to ask where Daddy David is. How do I tell her that the man she has grown to love as her father is a fake?" Marcus put his arms around Sarah, trying to comfort her while his own mind raced with implications. If James Crawford was not Emma's real father, then who was? And why had he gone to such elaborate lengths to convince them he was David Miller? "Detective, what do you think this man wanted from us?" Marcus asked. Detective Hayes looked grim. "That is what we are trying to figure out. In most identity theft cases, the criminal is after money or valuable property. But from what you have told me, Mr. Crawford never asked you for money or anything else of value. He just wanted to spend time with Emma," Sarah said through her tears. A horrible thought occurred to Marcus. "Detective, do you think he might be a predator? Someone who targets children?" "We are investigating that possibility," Detective Hayes admitted. "But so far we have found no evidence of that kind of criminal behavior in his background." Marcus felt sick thinking about all the times James Crawford had been alone with Emma. They had trusted him completely, never suspecting that everything about him was a lie. "What do we do now?" Sarah asked. "First, you need to keep Emma safe," Detective Hayes said. "If Mr. Crawford contacts you, do not meet with him alone. Call us immediately. Second, we need you to tell us everything you can remember about your interactions with him. Any details might help us understand his motives and find him." For the next 2 hours, Marcus and Sarah went through every detail of their relationship with the fake David. They told Detective Hayes about the first time they saw him following them, about his story of being Emma's abandoned father, about his apparent remorse and desire to change. "He seemed so genuine," Sarah kept saying. "How could someone fake that kind of emotion?" When they finally left the police station, both Marcus and Sarah felt emotionally drained and confused. They had to pick Emma up from school in an hour, and neither of them knew how to act normal around her while processing this shocking news. "Marcus, what are we going to tell Emma?" Sarah asked as they walked toward the school. "For now, nothing," Marcus replied. "We need time to figure out what this means and how to handle it. Let us just get through the rest of today." When they picked Emma up from school, she was her usual cheerful self, chattering about her art project and asking when she would see Daddy David again. "Soon, sweetheart," Sarah said, forcing a smile. "We will figure out the schedule and let you know." That evening, after Emma was asleep, Marcus and Sarah sat in the living room trying to make sense of everything they had learned. "I feel so stupid," Sarah said. "How did I not recognize that he was not the same person I dated 5 years ago?" "Sarah, you only dated the real David for a few months, and that was 5 years ago," Marcus reminded her. "People change, and James Crawford clearly did his research to make his story believable." "But what did he want?" Sarah asked for the 100th time. If he was not after money or trying to hurt Emma, what was the point of this elaborate deception? Marcus had been thinking about the same question. "Sarah, what if he genuinely wanted to be a father? What if he saw Emma and became attached to the idea of being her dad?" "But that is crazy," Sarah protested. "Is it?" Marcus asked. "I felt an instant connection to Emma the first day I found her. I started imagining what it would be like to be her father even though I had no right to those feelings. Maybe James Crawford felt something similar, and he convinced himself that pretending to be her biological father was the only way to be part of her life." Sarah considered this possibility. "You think he actually loves Emma?" "I think it is possible," Marcus said. "The way he acted with her, the patience he showed, the genuine emotion he displayed, it all seemed real to me." "But it was all based on a lie," Sarah pointed out. Marcus nodded sadly. "Yes, it was. And that means Emma is going to be heartbroken when she finds out." They were interrupted by Marcus's phone ringing. Detective Hayes was calling with an update. "We found James Crawford," the detective announced, "but the situation has taken an unexpected turn." Marcus put the phone on speaker so Sarah could hear. "What kind of turn?" "Mr. Crawford turned himself into the police station about an hour ago. He is asking to speak with both of you." Marcus and Sarah looked at each other in surprise. "He wants to talk to us?" "Yes. He says he wants to explain everything and apologize. He seems genuinely remorseful, but obviously, we cannot force you to see him if you do not want to." Marcus looked at Sarah questioningly. She was quiet for a long moment, then said, "I want to hear what he has to say. I need to understand why he did this to us." They arranged to meet James Crawford at the police station the next evening. Marcus spent the entire next day thinking about what he wanted to say to the man who had deceived them all. He felt angry, hurt, and confused, but also curious about James's motives. When they arrived at the police station, Detective Hayes led them to a small interview room where James Crawford was waiting. He looked different than Marcus remembered. Smaller, sadder, and genuinely ashamed. "Sarah Marcus," James said when they entered the room. "Thank you for agreeing to see me. I know I do not deserve your time or your forgiveness." "We want answers," Sarah said directly. "We want to know why you did this to us and to Emma." James nodded. "I owe you that much, at least." For the next hour, James Crawford told them a story that was both heartbreaking and infuriating. He explained that he had never had a family of his own. He had grown up in foster care and had always dreamed of having a daughter to love and protect. 2 years ago, I was working as a researcher for a private investigation company. I was hired to do a background check on someone, and in the process, I came across information about the real David Miller's death and his relationship with you, Sarah." "And you decided to steal his identity?" Marcus asked angrily. "Not at first," James said. "But I could not stop thinking about Emma. I started following you sometimes, just to see what she was like. The more I watched her, the more I wanted to be part of her life." Sarah was crying again. "So you decided to pretend to be her father?" "I know how terrible it sounds," James said, "but I convinced myself that Emma needed a father and that I could be good for her. I spent months learning everything I could about David Miller so I could play the role convincingly." Marcus felt disgusted. "You manipulated us. You made Emma love you under false pretenses." "I know," James said, tears streaming down his face. And I regret it more than you can imagine. But Marcus, my feelings for Emma were real. Everything I said about wanting to be a good father was true. But you are not her father, Sarah said firmly. You never were, and you never will be. James nodded sadly. I know. And I know that Emma is going to hate me when she finds out the truth. Marcus stood up, unable to listen anymore. James, you have destroyed a little girl's trust. You have made her believe her father came back for her, and now she is going to learn it was all a lie. How could you think that was okay? I could not think clearly, James admitted. I wanted so badly to have a family that I convinced myself this was the only way. I know it was wrong. I know I have hurt all of you. Detective Hayes stepped forward. Mr. Crawford, you understand that you will be facing charges for identity theft and fraud? Yes, James said. I am ready to accept the consequences of my actions. As they prepared to leave, James called out to them one more time. Sarah, Marcus, please tell Emma that everything I felt for her was real. Tell her that even though I was not really her father, I loved her like she was my own daughter. Sarah turned back to face James with fire in her eyes. Do not ask us to do anything for you. You lost the right to care about Emma's feelings when you decided to build your relationship with her on a lie. Outside the police station, Marcus and Sarah walked in silence for several blocks. Both of them were processing the emotional weight of everything they had learned. How do we tell Emma? Sarah finally asked. Marcus had been dreading this question. Emma had been so happy to have a father in her life. She talked about Daddy David constantly, showed off his gifts to her friends, and looked forward to their visits with pure joy. We tell her the truth, but we do it carefully, Marcus said. We make sure she knows that James's feelings for her were real, even if everything else was fake. Will she understand the difference? Sarah wondered. She is smart, Marcus said, and she has us to help her through it. As they walked home to face the most difficult conversation of their lives, Marcus realized something important. The strange feeling he had experienced since the day he first found Emma had never been about competing with her biological father. It had been about his role as her protector and guardian. James Crawford was not Emma's real father, and now Marcus understood that it did not matter. The love Marcus felt for Emma was not dependent on biology or legal relationships. It was simply love, pure, protective, and permanent. Whether Emma's real biological father was somewhere in the world or had died like the real David Miller, Marcus knew his role in her life was secure. He was the one who had found her when she was lost. He was the one who had protected her from danger. He was the one who would help her heal from this betrayal. As they reached their street, Marcus made a promise to himself and to Emma. He would be there for her no matter what challenges lay ahead. He would help her learn to trust again, after this betrayal. And he would make sure she knew that being chosen by someone who loves you is just as valuable as being born to someone who loves you. The strange feeling Marcus had felt that first day was finally clear to him. It had been destiny calling, telling him that he had found his purpose. Not just as a royal guard protecting strangers, but as a guardian protecting the people he loved most in the world. That night, as Marcus tucked Emma into bed, she looked up at him with trust and love in her eyes. Uncle Marcus, will you always be here with me and Mommy? She asked. Always, Emma, Marcus promised. No matter what happens, I will always be here to protect you. As Emma drifted off to sleep, Marcus knew that whatever difficult conversations lay ahead, whatever healing needed to happen, whatever challenges they would face, this little family would survive. They were bound together by something stronger than biology or law. They were bound together by choice, commitment, and love. The man who had once been just a royal guard had become something much more important. He had become Emma's chosen guardian, Sarah's partner, and the foundation of a family built on love rather than obligation. And in that small bedroom watching over a sleeping child who had changed his entire world, Marcus finally understood what he had been searching for his whole life. He had found his home.